Do you want constructive criticism or do you just want to rant? I thought that was great communication. You should just ask, okay, what are you coming to me for? I don't want to guess.
There's no excuse to not know tech anymore.
AI is now making a very complex process accessible. But that does not mean that the core artistic process has changed. It just means that the tools have been reset. Spirituality is the scientific exploration of the sense of self. It is you and you alone who can answer that question of who you are. How keen are you to go down that road of exploring yourself is how spiritual you are. We are currently going through a transition where the definition of what is hard and what is easy is changing. I am a self-appointed neuro-optimist. I am optimistic about the brain. I will never feel that this is it for humans.
Hello everyone, welcome to Decoding Quirks. I'm your host Aditi, and today we have a really special guest with us. He's a content creator, a neurologist, a neuroscientist, and you've seen him on the internet a lot. So it was very difficult to find fresh set of questions to talk to him about. But today's episode, we're deep diving into AI. Is it really killing our creativity or enhancing it? Anxiety, what does it really mean for our brain? And people-pleasing skills, where have they really come from? So let's deep dive into this episode with Dr. Sid.
So magicians have this trick called the magician's choice. So say if I ask you to pick a card out of 3, right, and it's 1, 2 and 3, and I want you to pick card number 2. Okay. Now suppose, and I have written down card number 2 somewhere. Now you pick card number 2, great. I will say, I knew you will pick that. See, I wrote it. Suppose if you pick card number 3, I will say, alright, so now that's the one you pick, let's take this out. And now pick between these two. And then you'll pick 1, and then I'll say, okay, that's out. So what is left is 2. And then I'll say, see, I've written it for you.
Interesting.
So it's kind of like that. The brain can predetermine a choice and then just play that game with you. So you are choosing, but are you really choosing?
Yeah.
So that is where the question of agency, predeterminism, free will comes in. So if your biology has already decided, this is what you have to do, your prefrontal cortex will create all these stories that will ultimately make you do what your limbic system has already decided.
Scary.
It is scary.
I'm just
But it's
scary.
but it's interesting because
It's
once you realize this, once you see this pattern, you will have more agency now because now you can control it a little bit.
Yeah.
If you don't even see it, then you might go through your whole life thinking, yeah, मैं ही कर रहा हूँ सब कुछ.
Okay, so this is maybe you can answer the next question
Sure.
now, because you asked me how was Dubai. I was in
Yeah.
Dubai last week. I went there for 10 days work trip. First 5 days, I plan my work very well.
Yeah.
Like I'll do my 6 hours. I'll drive back home 1.5 hours. I'm gonna watch Cougar Town alone in the villa. No honking, no sound, no random plans, no obligatory plan. First 5 days, fantastic. Like I was just like, whoa, this is great because you're out of Bombay, and Bombay has a lot of stimulant, the honking and the sound and the air pollution, whatever, all of that. Felt great. 6th day, 7th day, it was insane the kind of anxiety I felt because now I was like, okay, I'm resting. But resting started feeling like a threat, like, hey, what the hell is happening? It almost felt like this is like an autoimmune thing where I'm like, now resting too much feels like my body couldn't take it. Like I'm so used to hustling and working that I created problems for myself. I overbooked myself. I kept 2 plans at the same time. I, left my packing to the last moment. I started doing these things. Self-sabotaging to get that anxiety back, to feel normal, which is insane because I'm like, I've gone over there to have some peace and quiet.
Yeah.
Why did I do that? Why do our brains are so attached to this anxiety and hustle that I've literally created it?
So there is a certain level of chaos that everybody is comfortable with. So their nervous system has decided that this is the amount of chaos that is normal.
Yeah.
So if your if you're going through a phase where there's no chaos, it can seem restful for a while, but after a while, it's like, where is my normal level of chaos? So you will come back to it, which is why that pattern is so hard to break. Because if you have gone through a long period of extreme chaos and you have normalized it now, then breaking that pattern and saying, no, this is not normal, this is too much, can be difficult.
Yeah.
Because now what has happened is your brain has adapted, your nervous system has adapted. So you can only think when there is so much chaos going on. You can only feel excitement when so much chaos is going on. So students who study only on the last day, they are not able to study if there is 2 months to go before the exam. They can't
Interesting.
focus. They have to create a sense of artificial urgency, which is why midterm exams exist, which is why class tests exist. You have to just trick your brain into thinking ki, no, there is urgency. Why do something if there's no urgency? So society has figured out all these ways of tricking itself.
That's insane, right? But is it
Yeah.
healthy? Like, is it healthy for our brain to be putting that much pressure and normalizing it for so long?
The amount of stress that any system can take, and that could be your body also, that could be your brain also, depends on what has it been used to. So if I am used to dealing with a particular level of stress and that is comfortable for me, it's not increasing my cortisol levels, it's not increasing my heart rate, this much is good, then it's not unhealthy,
Okay.
it's fine. So different people will function differently at those stress levels. I always take the example of the gym, right? If
Yeah.
somebody is going to the gym and lifting 100 kilos every day, fine, that's perfect. If you know the form, if you know how to stretch before and cool down later, nothing will happen to you. You'll only get stronger. But somebody's going there on day one, seeing that, oh, this guy's hustling, let me also lift 100 kilos. They will break their back. So that
Yeah.
is where the risk is. You can't compare somebody else's mental health with yours.
So also like Bombay being such a hustle bustle city,
Yeah.
so you have to like work up to how much stress Bombay can give you.
Yeah.
Like literally.
That's a good term.
So as an expat, if someone comes into Bombay, for them it's a little like Arnav, I think for you also, when you came to Bombay, you couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
And
just like,
so,
it's too much for me.
yeah, I'm sure. And even if you leave Bombay for a while and if you go to the mountains, for a while it might seem calm, but then you get that sense of, oh, I
Yeah,
want that.
that's what was happening. My
Yeah.
anxiety was like every small thing was pissing me off.
Yeah.
Like everything was a problem. And it's something I didn't tell you, but thanks to the podcast, thanks to all of you guys, I got awarded the golden visa. I didn't go and get
Hey,
I didn't
nice.
complete the process, but I got awarded. I cried. Like, I don't deserve this.
Hmm.
And that was the anxiety time. I was just like, oh my God, what is happening? How can I get this? This is horrible. And I'm like, dude, this is weird.
Yeah.
That's why I thought I should ask you, like, what is this anxiety?
Yeah.
Crazy.
I have this theory on anxiety. I
Hmm.
think anxiety at the core is losing control.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
If you feel that you are not in control of whatever is going on, your brain struggles with that, right? It rebels against it. Now, the threat that most people have is my identity is under attack.
Yeah.
Whatever narrative that you have formed about yourself, if that is under attack, that is when anxiety really kicks in. Now, what is your identity is this fluid concept. As you grow, your identity keeps changing. What you identify with keeps changing. So, what will make you anxious will keep changing,
Yeah.
right? In general, I have this concept of 6 pillars, 6 pillars of identity. So, at different points in time, you will identify with one of these pillars more. And if that pillar gets attacked, that is when you feel anxious. So those pillars are your physical body, what you look like, how healthy you are. That is one of the core identities. Your personal identity, which is what is it that you like doing, you as a person, your hobbies, your likes, dislikes. Third is professional. So what is your job? What does society look at you as? Fourth is your financial pillar. So how much material reserves do you have that give you safety and security?
Yeah.
Fifth is social. So, how many connections do you have? Friends, romantic relationships. And finally, sixth is spiritual. What is your connection with life, with the universe? What is the narrative that you have of why are we here? What's your inner purpose? That is spirituality. at different points in life, you will identify with one of these pillars more, and you will generally compensate with the loss of one pillar by,
Yeah.
focusing on another pillar more. So if a 30-year-old is probably focusing on his job more, his or her job, and if that job gets under threat, there can be a lot of anxiety. Something goes wrong in your relationship, there can be a lot of anxiety. Spiritual question may not really bother a 30-year-old so much. Okay, what is the purpose of life? Does fate exist? Who cares? But a 65-year-old might be more upset with a spiritual threat than a
Financial.
financial threat, right? So at different points in time, you are attacked, or your anxiety is caused by these attacks to different pillars. This is a framework that I have, and I found it very useful just for me, and even when I'm talking to some patients of mine, just to give them this framework to look at life differently. So if you got an anxiety attack in Dubai, you can work it out
Yeah.
on paper, like, hey, which of my pillars
Got attacked.
got attacked?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Mm.
Like, you know what really sparks is the spirituality thing.
Mhm.
How do you describe this spirituality to someone who doesn't believe in spirituality? Because sometimes they're like, oh, I don't believe in God, I don't believe in the universe, I don't have that faith. So how do you explain that from the whole mental health angle, and
Sure.
especially as a doctor?
I recently had an interesting conversation on this with Acharya Prashant,
Okay.
and it helped me frame this answer better. So, you have this sense of self. We all have the sense of self, who you are. Spirituality is the scientific exploration of the sense of self. In a line, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Now, how do you go about exploring yourself? You can't ask anyone else. I can't ask my mom, who am I? Because they will have a different answer. My friends will have a different answer. Ultimately, it is you and you alone who can answer that question of who you are. How keen are you to go down that road of exploring yourself is how spiritual you are.
Interesting.
So if you don't care at all कि मैं कौन हूँ, great, you're not spiritual, and that's absolutely fine. But usually with life, you have ego. You have a sense of self. You are protective of yourself. You say, how can you say this about me? Do you know who I am? But do you know who you are?
Yeah.
As soon as you ask that question, you are now spiritual. And now you will ask yourself, you'll go deeper and you'll go deeper. Why am I like this? What made me like this? And then the road of spirituality will take you through psychology. It'll take you through neuroscience. It'll take you through cosmic. How did we get here? Why am I here? Why are any of us here?
Purpose of life.
What is the purpose of life? What is the purpose of human beings? What is the purpose of life existing in the universe at all? So these are questions that take you through philosophy. And different people across time has come up with different answers to this question of who am I and why am I here? That is spirituality. That's it. It's not.
Interesting.
So religion is a part of spirituality.
Faith.
Faith is a part of spirituality. You are trying to find an answer to this question. Is there a right answer? There is a right answer for you,
100%.
right? And that answer may not be the right answer for me, because if you and I are different, then my answer might be different. So for some people, religion is the answer. Even inside religion, Islam might be the answer for some people, Hinduism might be the answer for somebody else. And that's fine. And at different stages in your life, you might find different answers. That's also fine. It's only valid for you. So spirituality is a science for one.
Oh, wow. Nicely said.
My spirituality or my spiritual journey may not help you.
Yeah.
I can talk about it. You can take inspiration from it, but
It's
you
not
will
going to
have
be,
to.
yeah.
Correct. You will have to find your spiritual answer.
Yeah, it's not a cut, copy, paste for everyone.
It can't be.
Because you spoke about that purpose of life thing. Now, with the rise of AI that's coming into the picture, a lot of things are very easily available. That things that we would practice, things that we would learn, skills that would take us time, we would fail at it, then we would improve. It would give us a sense of joy, all of that, and then the result, comes on. So we learn through the journey, we learn through that process. But with the rise of AI, everything is so quickly available that do we even want to learn the skill. Like I saw a reel the other day. Also, I was like doom scrolling on Yashraj Mukhate's page, and he was talking about how he's making music with AI. Like he can just hum something, the tune, and it can be a violin playing, it can be a piano playing, and I'm like, this is insane.
Yeah.
Like now I need to just hum, and AI is doing it all.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, where it's cool, like for someone who's like creating music, but like
Yeah.
this seems insane.
Yeah.
So when you're not really practicing something, a skill or learning something from scratch, does that take away your purpose of life?
It's a very interesting question, and the answer is multi-layered. So we are currently going through a transition where the definition of what is hard and what is easy is changing. We grew up at a time when producing music in the sound of a violin was very tough. Now it's not.
Yeah.
So that means that the skill of producing a violin sound is now accessible to almost everyone,
Yeah.
which means that what is now difficult is something else. We still don't really know what that something else is because we are still wrapping our heads around how did this thing that was difficult for so many centuries suddenly get easy. So we don't know what to do with this. So when AI first started making the rounds and we all got access to it, I had this phase where I was very low. I thought, oh, does this mean that human beings will stop using their brains? But I am a self appointed neuro optimist. I am optimistic about the brain. I will never feel that this is it for humans. Right.
Okay.
So I feel that now that AI has reset the stage and this has become the new normal, I am very optimistic that human brains will find another level of art, another level of music where this now becomes the tool to create something extraordinary. Just like violin became the tool to create music, now AI will become a tool to create forms of music that we currently don't even know what will that be like. We can't even imagine it. So an example that I would like to use is earlier when there was a painter, they would need to learn how to make their own paint. And that was part of becoming a painter. They needed to know how to go and find a blue colored rock, crush it, mix it with oil so that they can make their own paint and then paint it. That was considered as part of the skill set. Then at some point, commercial paint became available. And I'm sure that an entire generation of painters who have spent years and years perfecting how to make their own paint would have felt very angry. What is this? Sabko abhi paint mil raha hai. Like, where is the true essence of painting? But because of that, a billion kids got to paint in school.
Yeah.
Because of that, so many kids became painters. If they wouldn't have had access to paint, they wouldn't have been painters, right?
So true.
So that is, I think, is what AI is doing. AI is now making very complex art or very complex process accessible. But that does not mean that the core artistic process has changed. It just means that the tools have been reset.
But we're also in this phase, right? In this transition phase where we've not yet fully accepted it. We're so confused. Like you said, we don't know what's hard anymore. We don't know what's easy anymore.
Yeah.
But how is that affecting us? Like, how is that affecting our motivation to learn a new art or to produce art or produce music? Like, is that like creating something? Like, is it demotivating or motivating?
As a neuro optimist,
Okay.
I believe that an artist will remain an artist. So if there is a child with an artistic brain, that child will create something.
Okay.
It is just that the child will now use AI to create something extraordinary. 100 years ago, that child would have used paint or a pen, or he would have picked up a instrument. But today he'll pick up some AI tool. But an artist will remain an artist. It's just that what that artistic outcome will look like, we don't know. But the process of art has remained the same since human beings have developed cognition. So, art, what is art? Art is taking reality and being able to break that reality apart and put it together in a completely new way
Yeah.
to express some emotion that you're going through. This is art.
Yeah.
So you can do that with colors, you can do that with music, you can do that with thoughts, you can do that with words, you can do that with any form of expression. Now AI has become the tool to do that, but the artistic process will not change, the tools have changed.
Interesting.
We don't know what it will look like, right? The the tricky part is because now AI can make uh, so-called artistic outcomes that were considered difficult. Everything that was once considered difficult will now become mundane. So the Ghibli art, for example,
Yeah.
right? It was considered as peak art. It was almost like a ritual that people would go through to learn how to do that. And in 1 week, I am sick of it.
I'm sick of it.
I see another Ghibli art and my eyes roll. I'm just like, enough. I get it. You did the complex process of uploading a photo and typing a sentence.
Yeah.
Good job. We now see your face look exactly like everyone else. Good job. But that means that the process has become more valuable and the outcome less so. Because now it's just outcome. What is so complex about the process? What is so valuable about the process? You simply uploaded a photo. So people are going to value process more and more and more.
Interesting you said this because I was actually worried about the opposite thing. I was like, if the result is so easily available, then will people even go through the process? Because in the process is actually where you learn your life lessons, right? Like the outcome is just a byproduct of it. The process is, where you learn your obstacles, you learn how to
Yeah.
fail, you learn everything
Yeah.
through the process.
Yeah.
So I was actually worried about the opposite, but like,
No, I think that the process will still remain. People will still go through hardships. People will still go through figuring out what is to be done. In fact, I think they will go through more hardships than ever because we don't even know what do we do with this tool. Where are the hardships now? So the next generation of artists have a very tough job in front of them.
because they also have to be like tech savvy now. I
Yeah.
mean, like there's no excuse to not know tech anymore.
Yes, if they are using tech as part of their tools, then yeah. But we will, in general, human beings value what is difficult, what is not easily available. Why is Hermes bags so valuable? Right?
Yeah.
It's not easily available. So if you get Chinese knockoffs everywhere and you can't tell the difference, then the value of the original will go down unless it can be proved that it is original. Which is why verified human art could become extremely valuable. Something that can be proven to be human. Like a human being has made this sari, a human being has painted this painting. So much more valuable, right? So this is the opposite of NFT.
Oh my God. Also, what a time to be alive.
Yeah,
Where like human art is going to be like
yeah.
absolutely verified and valued.
Verified human art, something that you have painted in front of someone, you've not used any tool, that can become very valuable
Yeah.
because no one else can make that, right? So
Insane.
a live orchestra will become very valuable. So I think these changes will happen.
Yeah, you're optimistic about it.
I'm very optimistic
Yeah, I
about
can
it.
see. I can see.
Yeah.
I was like freaking out. I was just like, whoa, what's going to happen?
No, I'm very
Like,
optimistic about the human capacity to find things to celebrate
how do you find that optimism?
because that's how it has played out. We have gone through so many crappy phases in our history, but here we are. We still celebrate. We still find joy. I think it is ingrained in us. We will seek those things.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Like here, I thought like the techies kind of hate art and all. They're like, I'll take it over. I'll make it easier. And
No, I think anybody who says that does not get the purpose of art. The purpose of art is not the final product.
it's a process.
It's the process. So anyone who thinks that going and seeing the Mona Lisa was the point, it's not. So the process of what what did Leonardo da Vinci think about when he made it? that is what is valuable, because you can take a photo of Mona Lisa and print it out and keep that, but that loses its meaning, right? So the entire purpose of art is the ability to see reality and reshape reality in a way that you want. If you can do that, then you're an artist.
Yeah.
And humans will always have that. Some humans. That ratio will remain. There will be artistic people and there'll be non-artistic people. And the way that they use these tools will remain like that.
That's so interesting. I
Yeah.
love it. I mean, I'm glad that you brought this positivity in me. I think we were quite negative about it.
Yeah. No, this
Yeah.
is the phase where we are still
Yeah,
coming to terms with a new tool. We don't really know what to do with it.
that's
But
true.
I assure you that there will be some artistic kid that is using AI right now in a way that nobody has ever done. And there will be an entire new art form,
Yeah.
and it will be as difficult as learning the piano,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they need to think really out of the box.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And the way that art changes, the speed also will keep changing, because every 1 or 2 years or every 1 or 2 months there'll be an entirely new art form. So
Yeah.
just keeping up with that, we are in for an exciting time.
Yeah, so we are creating the hurdles that we want to shape our life.
Yes.
Got it. Makes sense. Okay, I don't know if you want to answer this question or not, but did you take this optimism and, like, I know you and Samay are really close.
Sure.
So, like, did this optimism help in understanding what actually went down with the whole
Not at all.
latent scene?
No, not at all. There was no optimism there.
Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, as I said, I just came back from Dubai, and we have a group of like very multicultural. Like, it's not just Desis.
Mm.
We have like the Germans, and the Germans are very cutthroat. Huh?
Mm.
We have the Germans, we have people from the UK and all of that, and they couldn't get it. They were like asking, they couldn't get it. They were like, what went wrong? Like, they couldn't understand it.
Mm.
And then I was like, okay, after a while, I can't even explain this because it's so culturally deep rooted.
Correct.
So I was like, okay, because they were like, nothing seemed wrong to us.
Yeah.
Everything seemed like the question was like, it's available on the internet. It's available on, like, Cards Against Humanity. Like, there are these games
Yeah.
where this particular question is there. They were like, so what actually happened?
Yeah, yeah. So it is very contextual and subjective to the place and time and the people that were involved.
Yeah.
So I think all offense has to be taken in that context. No joke is funny by itself or offensive by itself. It is very conditional to who's saying it, where are they saying it, who are they saying it to, and who is listening to it. That's the nature of a joke. That's the nature of uh, what is funny and what is not. So the same sentence, if said by a friend of yours at your house at 2 a.m., everybody's chilling, it's funny. Same sentence on a stage in public, you suddenly come across it on Twitter, can be very offensive. So we have to understand that offense is very subjective to that specific condition, and we can't really control it. If it happens, we have to go through everything.
Wow.
Yeah,
But that was a very hectic scene.
it
Like,
was.
I'm also like glad that he had people like you guys around to, manage the entire
I think
scene.
everybody did what they could.
But yeah, like when you say like people take offense, wasn't the whole point of like no offense that I can say what I want to say, but you don't get offended? But like now it's just become, after you say no offense, you have to say the most offensive thing.
Sure. So one of the things that we have to remember is, because of the internet,
Hmm.
something that is said in a small group of people who have consented to be there,
Hmm.
that clip, if it goes out to people who have not consented to hear it, they don't want to hear a joke like that. So if they hear it, they can take offense. And there's nothing wrong.
Hmm.
There's nothing wrong in taking offense. There's nothing wrong in finding something offensive. What do you do after that? Like, do you have the nuance to understand that this was never meant for me?
Yeah.
This was meant for a different group of people who wanted to hear it. So I remember Ricky Gervais or some comic talking about, it's like You go to Times Square and there is a poster there that, do you want to learn to play the guitar?
Okay.
And you get very angry that, why are you telling me to learn to play the guitar? I hate guitar. And then you tear that poster up. It was not meant for you.
That's true. But I also feel like half of our Instagram reels are not meant for us. Like
Yeah,
the
exactly.
algorithm is like working us more than we are working.
Exactly. And this would not have happened 50 years ago if you are only hanging out with the kind of people that you like, right? And you have the kind of conversations that you want to have. But the internet will force everything on you. Of course, you may not like some of it, but freedom of speech means you live and let live. Like you want to say something and somebody else wants to hear it. Between the two of you, fine, no problem.
Figure it out.
But if you go into that conversation, get offended and say, no, you can't say this to that person, then we have to have a larger conversation in society about what does it mean.
For me, I just feel like now I am, as I said, like with the algorithm coming on, like sometimes I feel like the algorithm is controlling me. I don't control what I want to watch. I actually feel like sometimes I have to trick it. I'll go and like type a fish video for like 5 seconds and watch it because I don't want to see fishes. So when I actually get a fish video, I switch off like doom scrolling and I go back. Like I'm finding different ways from my brain to control the
Yeah,
algorithm.
you're training the beast.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, to
I
be
don't want to
fair,
give my control away.
yeah, to be fair, I've done that because at one point I made a new account simply to just reset things. And I followed, say, football pages and certain pages that I like to see. And that it did help for a while. But after a bit, again, it gets all mixed up because Instagram is also trying to figure out that I know you like this, but what if you like this too? And it just gives it to you.
And the thing is that we like it. But the thing is that because I like it, I don't want to like go down that spiral. I don't want
Yeah.
to doom scroll.
Yeah.
Like, you know, when they say like this is a visual hook, like I know I want to see it, but I do not want to get consumed.
Yeah.
So, you know, something else, I think I'd seen this on your profile where you were talking about energize. Am I saying that right?
The vagal tone.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
one that sends the electrical
Yeah.
signals
Yeah.
to your brain. Honestly, that seemed a little like amazing, but also scary at the same time.
Mm.
So, is this something that is like coming up now? Is this concept something that's coming up now, and will it help us
Mm.
feel less stressed and like not doom scroll?
So, vagal tone modulation has been around for a while. Science has been around for a while. I think the technology is catching up.
Okay.
So, vagal tone modulation is a pretty established thing. Essentially, what it is the vagus nerve is what is controlling the parasympathetic system, and there's a loop. So, the
Yes.
vagus controls your breathing, your digestion, and it's a bi-directional thing. So, the way you breathe and the food you eat will also, in return, control how stressed you are. So, the vagus is what carries that information. And the science of vagal tone modulation is that if you stimulate the vagus nerve, you are urging your body to go more into parasympathetic. So it calms your heart rate down, it slows down your breathing, it changes the way, theoretically, changes the way that you think. You are thinking slower, so overthinking can reduce. Whereas if you are in sympathetic state, the opposite will happen. Your heart rate will go up, you're breathing faster, you're overthinking, you are looking at negative options more. So, this is the theory of it. Earlier, vagal tone modulation was only possible through surgery. So, you open up your neck, you put in a vagal tone stimulator inside your neck, and that will systematically just put out these signals and it will keep you calm. They were used not for anxiety, they were used for seizures.
Oh,
Because seizure
interesting.
is a kind of sympathetic overactivity because the brain signals are just going all over the place. And refractory seizures was earlier controlled by this. What people found is that you can also do it from outside your skin. You don't have to operate, which is what is called non-invasive vagal tone modulation. And then different machines started coming up that you can, how do you stimulate it? So there are companies in the US that are doing pretty well in this space. That can, you can put it on your neck. You can also put it on your ear because there's a branch of the vagus nerve on your ear. So if you stimulate that, It can calm you down.
Yeah.
There are some of the devices have been FDA approved for anxiety, for depression, for sleep, because all of these things are related. So
Yeah.
sleep is a parasympathetic state. So if you can urge your body to go into parasympathetic, you can sleep better. I actually tried out one of these
Yeah.
devices and it was pretty good. I
Yeah?
liked it. Yes. The thing is that we are still in early stage.
Hmm.
We will find out. So in the next 15 years, 20 years, we will know so much more about the correct way to use these and what should be done along with this. This is not a standalone thing. You can't put this and live a completely stressed out life and think that this is going to solve things. That's not how it works. But if you do this along with a few other things, will that be more helpful? So
Got it.
we will learn more, but it's an exciting area. I'm looking forward to learning more about it.
That's so interesting. I'm glad that you said that this is not like a crutch or something. You have to like do it along with other things. You have to like,
Yeah,
de-stress in other ways also. You can't just depend on one technology.
absolutely. Yeah. It's like going to the gym. If you work out, it's great, but it will not help you become healthier if you are not eating well,
Hmm?
if you're not sleeping well. So even if you're working out for 2 hours, that's not going to help. In fact, that can do harm. So we have to understand how does this connect with everything else. I feel that where technology is going in mental health is eventually like a feedback loop. So you have a wearable that tracks your heart rate variability, your sleep, and if that can communicate with a device that can in turn stimulate your vagus nerve in a specific way, you have a system in place that can help you.
Interesting.
Now, ideally, there is a way to do this without technology, which is you are self-aware that you are going into anxiety, and if you have this awareness to do deep breathing, you are doing vagal tone modulation. So deep breathing and pranayama is basically vagal tone modulation. So if you can do that, you can avoid this whole circus.
I was just going to say that. I was like, now we have technology to tell us to de-stress and like to calm down.
Correct.
Before we had laughter clubs.
Yes.
Laughter is the best way to
Yeah.
like tickle the vagus nerve, right? So it's just like, bro, there were laughter clubs. You to actually used to go and just laugh.
Yeah.
Like, I remember when we were young, my mom used to make us gargle.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, gargle. We can hear it. Like, I used to literally put your head back and
Yeah.
like that was something to de-stress for our exams and all. I didn't
Correct.
understand it then.
These are absolutely so. These are techniques of parasympathetic vagal tone modulation. Laughter is interesting because when you laugh, what you're doing is you're taking a deep breath and you're kind of exhaling in bursts.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I had to do
Yeah,
it.
exactly. So if you like, so that's what you are basically doing, and that is a way of stimulating your vagus nerve. Apart from that, laughter has its own dopamine spikes, serotonin spikes. So they all work towards modulating anxiety.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So laughter is a great medicine from that sense, and even just simply these techniques like taking a deep breath and counting to 10 is also that. Take a deep breath and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What are you doing? You're taking a deep breath and exhaling slowly. It's pranayama, it's deep breathing. It's the same principle. You're just using different frameworks to do it.
Yeah.
So even the vagal tone modulation thing, I feel that now we are in that early stage. Eventually what will happen is that we will have a clearer idea on who should we use this for and when should we use it, what should be the right protocol.
Mm.
So I wouldn't say that we have a fixed answer yet. We're still figuring it out. But I'm glad that the technology exists. I'm glad that there is research happening in that direction, because if nothing else, we will at least know.
Mm.
We will know more about the human body because of this.
Yeah, I like the research part. That makes sense. Like, who doesn't want data? Everybody wants
Correct.
data.
Correct.
Um, but yeah, what like surprises me is that when like it's available for free, we would rather pay money and get it,
Yeah.
and then like okay, now I have more information.
Yeah. You can compare it with continuous glucose monitoring, because it's one thing for patients with diabetes to use it,
Mm.
but I did it for almost a month and it was interesting because I could see, even though all my sugar levels are normal, I could see that after a breakfast where I eat oats, how much does my sugar spike? Whereas if I eat sabudana khichdi, how much does it spike? Spoiler alert, it spikes a lot more. So sabudana will spike your sugars more than oats might. And I once went to Maharaja Bhog and I had an entire thali, and oh my god, it went off the charts.
Of course.
So of course, like logical. But when you see it, it makes a difference.
Yeah.
Even otherwise, you kind of know that, oh, I'm quite full, I'm sleepy. You know your carb levels are high. But when you see it on screen, that makes a difference. And if you are looking to make changes, you need that visual loop.
Your brain will
Yeah,
rewire to like adjust to it.
absolutely.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah. Maybe I'm gonna wear my watch again. I
It is interesting. I
I
have
should.
found that biofeedback, if you use it properly, can become a great tool for behavior change,
Yeah.
because we need to see that loop.
My partner's been wearing a watch for like 4 years.
Yeah.
Zero change.
Zero change.
Zero change. I think he just
Fair.
likes to see the data more than anything. I think
Fair.
it's like some guys are just that way. Like he's like a data freak.
Fair.
Startup world now.
There was a phrase that I had come across a year ago that did help me a bit in this. That said, if you don't rest when you rest, you can't work when you work. I thought that was really nice. Like
Yeah.
your brain needs that bit of separation,
Yeah.
because how else would you know if should you be in sympathetic or not?
Yeah.
Otherwise, you are always in chronic sympathetic activity, and that has real life consequences. It affects your heart, it affects your brain, it affects your blood pressure, and these things accumulate over time. So,
Is that how men are?
what do you mean?
Like, I just feel like a lot of men have like, you hear like, oh, people have had heart attacks at a very young age and all. Is it because they're like constantly like stressing and constantly like working, constantly trying to be successful all the time?
That's part of it. That chronic stress definitely plays a role. Apart from that, sleep deprivation plays a big role in the sudden heart attacks, because that also adds to the sympathetic activity. That also adds as a stressor, and then on top of that, any other kind of bad behavior just multiplies it. So for example, if you're a smoker, if you're not eating well, these are all additional things. So these are risks that, say, 2 generations ago did not exist. Stress always was there,
Yeah.
right? But this sort of chronic sleep deprivation that we are living through is a new phenomenon. That wasn't really the case before. People would still sleep more. Now we are just in a social norm where 4 hours is great, like theek hai.
God, I can't. I can't
Yeah.
even think about that. But you're not wrong. So
Yeah.
we are sleeping less and working more.
Yeah,
But are we working more because of the capitalistic world that we live in?
100%.
And we've like also like rewired to like appreciate things very differently.
Yeah. Like our entire value system has changed. So if you say that everything is equally important, all the 6 pillars that I spoke about, right? Like if you say that your physical health is important, your personal health is important, professional is important, your social life is important, there is only one pillar that society forces you to do, which is your professional pillar. So just in general, if you take any average 30-year-old, there's a lot of social pressure to go to work and earn money. There is no social pressure to make sure they are fit. There is Instagram pressure,
Yeah.
but that is also as a form of stress.
But Instagram pressure also to look good eventually becomes money, na? If you look good,
Correct.
your thing will go viral, whatever.
Correct.
Your account will go viral for you to get brand deals, for you to get money, for you to become a content creator.
Yeah.
Like eventually it comes down to money.
That or the relationship pressure, which is if you look good, you'll find a good partner, you can date better, your options improve, that sort
For
of thing.
money. I
For
mean,
money.
for
Sure,
money, yeah.
they are connected.
Yeah.
But there is no pressure on you to kind of discover what would you like to do with your life. There's no pressure on you to just be healthy. Forget about fit, just be healthy. There's no pressure on you to slow down, calm down, get away. If all these things are equally important, why is your job under so much of scrutiny and the rest not. So this is definitely capitalism. That as long as you are productive,
Yeah.
everything else can go to hell.
Yeah, like you can just have a reason for everything. Like there are so many small solutions available now,
Yeah.
and it makes you feel like, okay, if I work harder, I can buy all these small solutions to
Yeah.
fix my life. But maybe you didn't need it,
Yeah.
and maybe you didn't need all these small solutions to fix your life if you didn't stress so much
Yeah.
and work so hard.
Yeah.
Like the other day, because of my period cramp, I went to Blinkit and I was like, I want a hot water bottle bag,
Sure.
whatever, hot bag. There's this electrical pad that charges in 5 minutes for 400 rupees that lasted me 8 hours. I'm just like, this is great.
Yeah.
Now I don't even have my period and I'm using it on my neck after the gym, and what the hell?
Yeah.
I've just added one more thing to put in my travel bag and carry.
Yeah.
I didn't need it.
We spoke about agency, right? We
Yeah.
spoke about free will, and this is exactly how it works. You can only choose what is available to you. And so the more choices are given to you in a particular order, you will choose that. It's magician's choice all over again. That if I show you two ordinary looking water bottles,
Yeah.
and I show you this, like, oh yeah, of course, I know that you'll buy this.
That's exactly it. But talking about like guys being that way, so this is for Arnav. I'm actually trying out a little new content on my page. I was trying to like right now I'm doing obviously unscripted like podcasts and all. So I was like, oh, let me try some scripted content. Tried some scripted content and I sent it to like the team over here. I sent it to the team in Dubai. I sent it to my parents. I sent it to my best friends.
Yeah.
I sent it to my partners. And like, okay, the basic people who will tell me how it is. It was really interesting, this pattern that I saw, that all the women were like, oh my God, that's so good. Like, honestly, I think it was very basic.
Okay.
Oh my God, that's so good. Like, I'm so glad you're doing this. This is so great. And like, women were appreciating effort. Like, they were just like, yo, go, man. Like, this is great.
Okay.
All the men that I sent it to, okay, it's fine. You can do better.
Okay.
It's great that you're trying something new, but do it better. Like,
Okay.
try more. And I'm like, are men wired to only appreciate success once it's like, appreciate something when it's successful or like good? Because is that also how life has treated them? Like, are they also like being treated this way by life? Like, I'm not going to appreciate your bare minimum, like for men. You have to actually do something to be appreciated. But like women, like the bare minimum, they were just like, yeah, go girl. So I was like, and last 4-5 days, clear distinction.
Interesting.
Like, I was like, is this a pattern?
So-
Is this something that exists?
Were the men discouraging at all? They were
Not discouraging, but it wasn't like, it was like a thumbs up, like
Right.
that
Like,
much.
good job.
Yeah.
Huh.
But like the woman would be like, oh wow, you tried something new. So like,
Interesting.
yeah.
So one thing that I've observed for me is that if I get a lot of validation too early, that might actually reduce my motivation.
Really?
Yeah. So, say for example, if I'm planning to do something, okay, I'm planning to start a new podcast, for example, and I talk about this with a few people, and they're like, "Oh wow, amazing idea, well done!" Like, and it's happened a couple of times where I feel like, "Oh, I feel good," and then it never happens after that. So I have learned two things. One, don't seek early validation. So in fact, I've stopped telling people
Okay.
that, hey, this is what I'm going to do, because what if they're really validating? I don't want that. I want to tell them after it's done, so that I still have that loop still in place. That I'll do this, then I'll tell people, then they will validate me, that'll feel great.
So that's the dopamine cycle for you?
Correct.
That motivation.
Correct. So I need that. So I'm wondering if it has something to do with that. That you don't want to praise something too early, too quickly, because what if that ends it?
So interesting, because I feel the complete opposite.
Yeah.
Like, even when my friends show me their work,
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, if I praise you now, you won't get demotivated, you won't leave it halfway. You will see it to the end.
Yeah. I think maybe we're talking about slightly different things. discouraging is different.
Yeah, it's not
Right?
discouraging, but like I just feel like
But giving them validation that you have already achieved what you're trying to achieve is maybe
no,
disingenuous.
so I'm just like, it's good. In fact, it's like great from whatever I've seen the other work. Keep doing it more to
Yeah,
get better at it is also like a part of it. Like, oh, this was great.
yeah,
Put it up, get feedback, shoot more, get better at it. But
yeah.
basically, like, it's like me doing this podcast. Now, if I did one episode and be like, yeah, everyone was like, good, 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 would I not do the other one? I would do more.
Of course,
But
yes.
I feel like it's very similar to
Yeah,
that.
this is interesting because I've seen these memes, okay, on relationships where the husband is asking the wife that, do you want criticism? Do you want constructive criticism or do you just want to rant? So I can frame my thoughts accordingly. And that's a great question because sometimes you might be coming for a different need and I will offer something different. I thought that was great communication. You should just ask, okay, what are you coming to me for? I don't want to guess.
Yeah, actually, for me, this time, I myself didn't know.
Yeah.
Which is why I was like, I just sent it to people. But I was very amazed with the pattern that I saw.
Interesting.
Like, including my own partner, he was like, yeah, I mean, maybe if you brought your unscripted energy to your scripted content, it would be great. I'm like, I'll see you at home. But like this is, I'm just like, I also didn't expect anything. It was new for me.
Yeah.
But it was interesting for me to see this pattern.
Yeah, I think that all men should become comfortable with asking,
Interesting.
do you want constructive criticism or not?
Hmm.
Because I definitely feel that there is a risk in offering constructive criticism, or forget about constructive. There is a risk in offering criticism
Hmm.
if that is not the intent in that moment.
That's true.
So maybe somebody has sent you something simply to be validated, and that is absolutely fine. But you should know that. Maybe so for example, I used to be a part of a poetry club. So we used to write poems, we would go there, we would perform our poems, and everybody would listen, and then everyone will give feedback saying that I loved this part, I didn't like this part, why did you write this? And you go there with that intention.
Hmm.
But sometimes you write a poem and you are sharing with your friends just because you are so proud of it. And it's kind of tricky if there they start offering that, hey, can you change this line? Can you do this? Because that's not what you have sent it to them for at that moment.
Oh my god, every time I send a guest a reel, please can you clip this? Can you make this a reel and I want to send it to my guests?
Yeah.
Because that's what happens. I'm like,
Yeah.
I just want to, because I relate to this part.
Correct.
I want to put it out there. I'm not sending it to you for like, change this word, edit
Exactly.
this, make a different music.
So I think the difference here is a sort of miscommunication between why are you sending it versus why did they think you have sent it? Because they must have thought that you are sending it because you are asking for opinion,
Yeah.
and maybe you sent it because you're just really proud that you've done this, right? And that's also fair, but they didn't know that. I think maybe the women had instinctively realized that this is why you're sending it and the men didn't. But I'm sure if the men knew, they might have responded differently.
How will they know?
That's the thing. How will they know? It's an
Yeah.
interesting question. How can you let them know versus how can they ask you?
Because if I let them know, then the whole point is out, no? Because then I'm manipulating the conversation.
Is it?
Yeah, because maybe I'm just like, oh, I just want you to validate me, but maybe I actually, because you are an expert, can you also tell me, like, I don't know, it can be very manipulative.
Yeah. It is, and that's exactly why conversations can be tricky, because if you are being honest with yourself, and I sometimes find it difficult because I know this has happened with me. I have written a poem. I am very proud of that poem. I know that if I send it to some people, they will give criticism, and on a different day I will value it,
Yeah.
but not today, because today I've just written this. Can
Yeah.
I just bask in the glory of having done something that I value?
Yeah.
Right. So it's tricky to send something of yours and say that, can you just tell me that you love it?
Okay, but for that, you need to know how you feel about it.
Exactly.
So I think
Yeah.
that's the whole thing.
It starts with
Comes
that.
back to me like, what did I really want when
Exactly.
I sent it to them?
And if you're saying that they didn't discourage it,
No one discouraged it.
right, but they were still disappointing in their answers, then maybe you went in with an expectation of a particular answer.
Actually, I think for me it was more interesting to see a pattern. And I
Mm.
think because I started seeing the pattern, I started catching it up a little bit more.
That is interesting, actually. That why would all the men
All the
immediately
men.
assume that this is the time to give an opinion? Um, and it's also interesting how the women didn't do that.
Yeah.
It was just encouragement.
Yeah.
That's really beautiful.
They were like, oh my god, I actually watched it 2-3 times. It was engaging. Like random, like,
Yeah,
suggestion.
it was really, that's really beautiful, because I have observed that we all have different friends for different purposes. So then the responsibility is kind of on you to figure out whom to send what and when.
Yeah, I learned my lesson.
Yeah. And what is interesting is you seem to have drawn a line across gender, but I don't think that's universally true, because there are certain men who would respond in a certain way and others might not. So that's interesting, because if I write a poem, I know there are a couple of friends that I will not send it to on day one,
Okay.
because their default is they will find something to change, and they are coming from a good place. They want the poem to be better, but their default is
Yeah.
isko change kar. So them I will send after 3 days.
Yeah. After like 3 drafts, maybe.
After 3 drafts,
Yeah.
exactly. So you
Got
have
it.
different people for different reasons,
Interesting.
and I think that's a good way of
Yeah. I'll
safeguarding yourself.
Yeah, I'm gonna like notice it a little bit more. But I was quite like surprised, like you said, that maybe I drew a line in the gender, but
Yeah.
that's how it also looked to me.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It came across that way to me. So I was
Yeah.
just like, maybe because the world is so hard on them, they are just like bare minimum effort.
What did
is
you
not-
type along with the reel you sent?
I think I just when I sent it to you guys, I was just like, I don't like it or something like that. And but when I sent it to the others, because y'all were my first test, I sent it to others. I just sent it.
No context.
Yeah, no context. Because
Just the
then
video.
I was by the time I also caught up to like, hey, so I just sent it to like just sent it.
Hmm.
So yeah. Also, people before I went to Dubai, people knew that I was trying out a different content. I'm going to be doing something different. So it was just sent. Later on, it became like, oh, let me see what are people saying.
Yeah. I think between men and women, you do need to set some context. It's
Yeah.
very difficult to just give a piece of information
Yeah.
and then they will react the way they will. But suppose, hypothetically, you had sent it with a message saying, hey, I finally did it. I finally made a video.
Everyone would have been like,
Good
yeah,
job.
yeah.
Great job. Keep doing this.
Yeah.
You
But
know?
also my first podcast, no one knew. It was out on Instagram.
Ah,
I didn't send it to anybody.
yeah.
No one knew anything.
Yeah.
People didn't know where I had gone, what I was shooting, what nothing. It was just out. And then it just like, yeah, this is what I do. Do you not know?
Yeah, this is me now.
Yeah. I don't have to send you a memo.
Yeah.
But this was, because I was changing something, I did send it to people.
Yeah. I think it's really liberating once you accept that you want validation.
Yeah.
Once you have that acceptance, कि
Yeah.
हाँ भाई चाहिए.
Yeah.
It's not a
It's not a bad thing, no?
Correct. It's not a bad thing. Of course, you need that. That is level 1. I think level 2 understanding comes when you realize that you want validation from certain people.
Yeah.
Because who is validating you makes a big difference. If all you are chasing is validation, you might end up going in circles. Because you will go after whatever is the most validating by the people around you who are closest.
Yeah.
But you should figure out who is validating you.
Yeah.
So if you've put out a post and it's really racist,
Mm.
and a whole bunch of racist anonymous accounts are coming and saying, "Arey, amazing job," you need to think about, wait, who is validating you?
Yeah.
And is this the group of people that you want validation from? So that is the danger of saying that no, validation is important. So if I make a decision, something to do in my life, say I want to start a new clinic, and the elders in my family approve of it, that means something. Because these are people who have seen life 60 years, 70 years. They have had hospitals, they have run through stuff. If they approve of a decision I make, that has value. Whereas some random friend of mine, never run a business in his life, he's like, "Arey, good job, man." How much weight does that validation carry?
That's true.
Right? So I think that is level 2 of understanding that validation is important, but who is doing it?
Does that also come down to like our childhood? Like we are constantly in this need of like making our parents really happy, getting the validation of our parents. Sometimes we end up like being the good girl or the nice guy to make our parents really happy. So a lot of therapy has to do with that as well. Like we go back, we decode where did this trauma come from, where did this struggle come from, where did this coping mechanism come from. So like I think validation also plays a very big part in that aspect,
Yeah.
right?
Not even just childhood. I think it goes back all the way to evolutionary roots of
Yeah.
just wanting your tribe to be happy with you.
Yeah.
Because if they excommunicate you, if they throw you out of the tribe, then you are dead.
Yeah.
So the risk of social outcasting is real. Like we are terrified of it. And childhood, of course, reinforces a lot of that. You want your parents to be happy. You become a people pleaser.
Yeah.
The thought that there's somebody out there who dislikes you
Yeah.
is terrible.
Yeah.
And I have really fought with this idea that if somebody dislikes me, it's like, oh God, like let me go overboard and fix it. But you don't need to.
You don't need to.
And this line that you don't need to comes after a lot of work.
Oh my God, a lot of work.
Yeah.
Because imagine like upsetting one person just makes you feel like the worst human being ever. And all your good is written off because you made
Correct.
someone unhappy. And just to realize that it's okay, everyone else's happiness is not your responsibility.
Yeah.
They are going to take responsibility and accountability for their own happiness.
Yeah.
Just to get that understanding and accept that. Knowing it is very different, but accepting it,
Yeah. It takes time.
oh,
It is such a trap, this people pleasing thing, because the way that your brain calculates value changes. So you could have 10 people in your close family that are really supportive and happy with you, and you have this one friend who's upset with you, and because of your people pleasing tendencies, the value of the one friend who's upset with you outweighs everything else. So you might end up not paying attention to the people who are closer to make this person happy, and that upsets the balance of everything.
the barter's not worth it.
The barter is not worth it. So step one is to just acknowledge that bhai theek hai, people pleasing ek taraf, but take a step back and think about the general relativity of how you are dealing with people.
Exactly.
If this happens and you say that I am fine if somebody dislikes me, that is liberating. That day you will feel your weights getting lifted off your shoulder.
Yeah, I feel like that kind of came. Mel Robin has this. What does it say? Leave it. Let them. Let them.
Let them.
Let them.
Yeah.
I think it comes from there as well. I mean, I used to just say it, but
Sure.
kind of the
Yeah.
same thing.
Same meaning.
Yeah.
Queen's English. Sure.
I was like, you just stole my modality. Okay, but like,
Let them.
yeah, let them.
In a way, it's also a form of control, which is something that I've realized over time, which is you want to control how people think about you.
You want to control how people think about you is a very big thing. I was talking to someone very recently, and I realized that we have this deep distrust amongst us, right? Like every time someone is being nice to us also is like, what is your long game?
Yeah. What's your agenda?
Yeah, what are you going to get out of
What do you
this?
want?
Yeah.
Mm.
How much money are you going to fleece me for? Yeah. So there's this deep distrust within us. So somewhere in that also is like, okay, but you should like me. You should not hate me. Even though I can't trust you, I still don't know what your long game is. But you should like me. And I'm like, this is bizarre, guys. Like, where is this world going to? But yeah, this distrust is crazy.
Yeah, it's really paradoxical.
Right?
Yeah. And that's part of the people pleasing scam that we run on ourselves.
I'm so glad you called it a scam.
It is. It's absolutely a scam because you are, in a way, the niceness is part of your strategy.
Yeah.
Like everything is a strategy.
Yeah.
It's a social strategy. It's a game theory. So niceness is the strategy that you have picked to go through life better. So you are being nice, and somewhere in your brain you're calculating that all this niceness will pay off because now people owe me. And eventually, in every people pleaser's life, there will be a moment of reconciliation where you realize that people don't owe me.
Yeah.
And what they go through is betrayal. They feel, how could this happen? I was so nice. Why are they behaving like this to me when I am a nice person? And then you have to do the entire recalibration of, you might become a cynic that, oh, niceness does not pay. Then you'll go to the other extreme. Like, I want to be selfish now. Selfishness is the way to go. And then eventually, hopefully, with time and adulting and maturity, you come somewhere in the middle where you realize that you should not be an asshole.
Yeah.
But you also don't have to be nice to everybody or
Yeah.
go overboard with that niceness all the time. This is the arc of a people pleaser's life.
I actually see this a lot with girls who've grown up with like really submissive mothers. They were like, my mom said yes for everything. She landed up unhappy. I'm going to say no for everything. But they also land up unhappy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, happiness is not.
Yeah. And then they were just like, okay, but now let me find that middle ground.
Yeah.
You know, she was a people pleaser, but I am not going to be a people pleaser. Similar thing.
Correct.
But it's just like in different generations. So you
Yeah.
go from one extreme to the other extreme.
Yeah.
But eventually you have to realize that it's that middle ground that really, that gray area
Yeah.
that really has the trick in it.
Yeah.
Insane.
knowing that what is it that you want and communicating it clearly is a great starting point. It is.
Yeah.
And being able
That's
to breathe.
too big.
It is too big.
It's
I know.
too big a line.
It's a very big line. But being able to breathe through that momentary discomfort of stating that this is what I want, and if you and I are not able to work together towards it, then at least we know that now.
Yeah.
We don't have to pretend to go through this whole thing if we can't even put it out there. Because then after that, compromise and everything can come. There's nothing wrong with any of it. But if you can't even state what is it that you want, then you're kind of stuck.
Compromise is such a like triggering word.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I've also learned to like look at it in a different way.
Exactly.
It's compromise earlier would also just mean that the woman would like do it like 80% and the man would do it like 10-20%, and that's the generation I grew up in. But like, you know, unlearning all of that and like making sure that I'm walking 40%, you walk 40%, the rest we'll figure it out
Correct.
between us, whoever is more stable emotionally,
19
financially.
ka farak,
Yeah,
all
it has
that.
to be like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So now I'm trying to rewire my thought around compromise, but it's a very triggering word.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
we've grown up with identifying compromise as loss or
Yeah.
defeat.
Yeah.
When you start thinking about it as problem solving, then it's different.
Yeah.
Especially problem solving together.
Yeah.
So compromise being that, okay, you and I are sitting together and we have this problem. We want a good life. Something is stopping us from having that good life. How do we figure it out? How do we solve a problem?
Yeah.
So if you look at it as that, the framework changes.
Yeah. But yeah, that's something that's like a very recent change that's happening.
For sure.
Okay, I think
Okay.
we're also done. These
All
guys are signaling me that time is up.
Yeah.
But
We've had a good
yeah,
flow.
exactly, right? We've
Yeah.
spoken about a lot of things.
Yeah, it was really
Thanks
fun.
so much
Of course, my pleasure.
for all your knowledge, and it was a great chat. Did
I-
you guys like it? Good?
Breath of fresh air.
Oh, that's
Oh my god, now you're just like, whatever you want to hear, I'm going
Yeah.
to tell you.
anything that can stop this right now.
Alright, okay.
That was really fun. I liked it.
Thank you for coming.
Of course, my pleasure.
Yeah, we'll do this again?
Let's do it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Done.